And well, that's good. I'm glad you're not trying to Zoom and drive. That would make me a little nervous. So we're going to start talking about that little puzzle that I gave you last time. And I'll go ahead and read it to y'all again. So your supervisor entered your office. He asked you for $150 to cover the business dinner that he had last night. He said he went out with a client last night. So you give him the $150 check. He gives you the receipt. And then later that day, his girlfriend stops by and you hear her talking to the secretary about the fabulous dinner that she and the supervisor had last night. What do you do? What's ethical? What's legal? What's moral? Kylie, are you flagging me down?
Oh, I was saying go ahead, whoever was about to speak.
Oh. Well, someone's going to have to speak, otherwise it's going to be a long morning.
I was just going to say, I mean, they definitely, whatever they did was wrong ethically and legally, and they should get in trouble by whoever's above them. And I don't know what the consequences would be for something like that, but
yeah. Isn't the business supposed to pay for all of that stuff anyways? Like usually you pay for it and then the business reimburses you.
If it truly is a legitimate client, yes, but not for it, the business isn't supposed to pay for you to go out on a date with your girlfriend.
Yeah. So then you just ask, then you just go to his boss and show him the receipt and tell him.
Would you do that?
What happened?
Would you do that, Noah?
100%.
Really?
Because that means he's probably going to do that more than once, or he's probably done that more than once.
So you're willing to risk pissing off your supervisor to tell on him?
I mean, how many times do you think he's done that, though? Or how many more times do you think he's going to do that?
Oh, I think if he gets away with it once, he's going to get away with it again. I do. But I'm really impressed that you'd be willing to stick your neck out on the line and risk your own job to do something about that.
Maybe I would just confront them first and then, be like, I don't know if this is what you're supposed to be doing. And then obviously if they continue to do it, then, I don't know. That is tough because I wouldn't want to risk my job. I mean, they have more power over you, so, they can make things a whole lot difficult for you if you.
Yeah, because this is your supervisor we're talking about. This isn't somebody beneath you. Here, I know. Let's put Alex on the spot since he's in the car with his boss. Where are you, Alex? Did I lose you? I don't know where he went. I might have lost him. So never mind. We'll call on somebody else. Oh, here he is. We lost him and he's coming back. In the meantime, we're gonna ask Dylan what he's gonna do until we can get Alex back. Dylan.
I would probably confront him, but kind of keep it on the down low so I don't get him mad. But yeah, I don't think I'd bring it up to any higher ups.
Because it is only $150, right?
Yeah.
Would the amount change things for any of you?
No.
Alex, you're sitting there with your boss, so we were waiting to put you on the spot. What if your boss does this to you, this guy standing next to you who could fire you?
What's the question? My Wi-Fi or my hotspot went out for a second.
I know. We lost you for a minute. So what happens if this boss here standing next to you, who's been so nice to drive you around, he submits this receipt to you for $150 and you find out it's not a legitimate receipt? It was actually, he took his girlfriend out. What you gonna do? And you can thank me for this wildly awkward moment later. I don't think he hears a thing I'm saying. BJ.
Yeah, I would like maybe take him to like
Um,
a room just between me and
man.
him, and
Just talk to him, I guess.
You gonna give him the money? You're gonna cut the check for the 150?
you talking to me?
Yeah, why not?
Oh no, I'm saying I took him. No, that was I think Alex was still talking just then. That's why I had to stop.
I
But
can't hear a thing he's saying. Can you all hear him? I
I
can't
mean,
hear.
he was going in and out.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
But
You
no,
got
I was gonna. But yeah, I was gonna say like I take him in a quiet place and talk to him and ask him about it and ask like that he get my money back and like don't do it again. Like next time, just be truthful or something like that.
All right, so you're going to try to talk to him man to man and appeal to his sensibilities and be like, come on, dude, this is not the right thing to do. Just,
Right.
take
Yes,
the
ma'am.
receipt back and don't do this again. And he says, screw you, I want my $150.
And then it might be a problem there.
Well, it's going to be a problem because, most people, when you appeal to their good nature, do you think most people really fall for that? I mean, you really
Nah.
trust people to do the right thing all the time? I've lived long enough to know they don't,
No, ma'am.
especially when it comes to money.
Yeah, true that.
What do you think, Jacob? Lazarus, you have a big long name. It all blends together.
I was a little bit late, so I missed like the first part of the question.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll pick on somebody else. Someone who doesn't get picked on a lot. Somebody who doesn't put their picture up. Santiago.
Yes. What was the question?
Aha. See, if your picture was up, I wouldn't have called on you just now.
No, yeah, it's just I've been having trouble getting in the class. The internet is bad, but
I know, believe me, I know. I live in the woods. I have the worst internet connection possible. I do sympathize with you guys. So, so what are you going to do? Are you going to give the $150 to your boss? Or are you going to say to him, look, dude, this is not happening. I know you used that money to take your girlfriend out.
well, well, when I got in, I didn't hear the situation, so I don't know. But I would do the second thing probably. I wouldn't just. I don't know.
Would you risk your job for $150? Because you know it's wrong?
I don't know. It depends on the situation. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I know it's too early in the morning to make you think about ethical things, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I just wake up, so
I know, baby. I know. Go have your coffee and then we get back to you, okay?
All right, thank you.
Jade, what about you, mama? I see you sitting there in your bed. Tell me what you're going to do. You can chew. It's okay.
Did you say Jade?
Yes.
Okay, you're talking about the guy that took his lady out under.
Yeah.
I would probably if it comes down to my job, I would report it because if I knew about it, I guess I could probably get in trouble too.
But who's going to know about it besides you?
I don't know who would know about it, but if it came down to, well, did you know about this? And I'd have to speak up and say, yeah, I did, because I figured it out, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, but suppose no one did know about it. Would you go to your supervisor's boss and tell him?
Maybe, yeah, I think so.
You would. That's interesting. Some of you have a strong sense of responsibility where you would risk your own job to do what you believe is the right thing for this company. I think that's really interesting. And some of you would be like, no, I've got to support my own family. So
I mean, if you told their boss and they got in trouble for it, they couldn't backlash and fire you because that's illegal, isn't it?
oh,
You
that
could
is
prove
a
that.
great question.
You could easily prove that
Could you?
that was backlash. Yeah, you could easily prove it because
How
you
could
could easily bring up that situation.
Well, Noah, I'm glad you said that because you're sitting there in Georgia and I'm sitting here in Florida. Let me tell you about our states. You cannot fight, these are right to work states. And so in right to work states, you can't be fired for a bad reason, but you can be fired for no reason or a good reason. So they could never fire you for that, just like they can't fire you for being gay, or they can't fire you for being short, or they can't fire you for being black. But they can fire you because they no longer need you or your work is not up to par. The burden will be on you to prove it was for a different reason. All someone has to say is he works too slow. He processes the accounts too slow. How are you going to argue with that? That's the fun about working in these right to work states. What do you think, Noah? Where are you? Stop showing me those beautiful views. It's getting me jealous.
I think honestly, I think if it's right after the situation, you could probably easily prove it because you have the receipts. You could easily get if you had a lawyer or whatever, you could get them to go into the company expenses and look and see if they spent that money on it because they have logs of everything, especially business meetings and stuff like that they pay for.
Noah, I am really impressed that you have such a strong sense of morals that you'd go to the mat on this $150 check.
Well, it's not even about the $150. It's about he could have done this multiple times to different employees other than you. He could be shortcutting stuff at the job. Just it could be a bunch of stuff. It could lead to a bunch of stuff. Because usually with people like that, it's not just one thing, it's multiple things.
So you're going to nip this in the bud right now?
Yes, ma'am. But I don't know. I think that's just how I was raised and how I was taught.
But I'm not making fun of you. I'm genuinely impressed. I don't think most people would take it that seriously. I think you have a really strong code, personal ethical code that you feel that strongly about it. How many of you really feel as strongly as Noah does about it? Be honest. Nobody's saying yes. Diego shook his. Jeremiah, are you waving at me?
No, I'm saying I do too. Though.
You do. You do too?
Yeah.
Really? But Diego is shook his head no. Diego really is not worrying about this, are you?
I mean, I'm not more strong as Noah is, but I wouldn't risk my job. I don't want to be fooled either, but I think $150 doesn't make any change. So I don't know. I wouldn't risk my job. I would face my boss. I would tell him that I know that he's using that money for that, but not in a bad way. Just letting him know that I know what he's doing.
Interesting. Kylie, you caught my attention by experimenting with backgrounds. I notice everything. I'm like a cat. I see it all.
You're calling on me now?
Yeah, because you changed backgrounds and I thought it was neat. And so now I want to talk to you. No, I liked it. Go ahead.
I mean, well, I did want to say after like hearing everybody else talk about it, that I would kind of change my standpoint on that. That because like given the person that I am, I don't really like believe in, like, it's not my place to, I guess, snitch on somebody, or, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, if they deserve to get in trouble, then it's gonna happen one way or another, you know, and it doesn't have to be me, the one that does it. So I wouldn't risk my job over $150. No, I mean, and I don't even think more than that amount I would risk my job for, because I mean, I'm just worried about myself, and you know, I got to support my family and whatever myself.
So that's interesting that you said if the amount was different. So let's add a couple more zeros to that 150, because you know 150 is 150, right?
Yeah. Right.
Add 2 or 3 more zeros to it. Does that change the picture for anybody? They know their boss is stealing, let's say 1,500, 15,000, 150,000. Would you risk your job over it?
I mean, for $150,000, that's taking a lot of money from the company. And
but it's
at
not
that
your
point,
company, Kylie. It's not your company. You don't own it.
Right.
You know.
Right, but at that point, like, I mean, at that point, they cannot do anything to get me in trouble if I'm if I say, oh, my supervisor has spent $150,000 in the company's money for him and his girlfriend to go out and have a great night. You know, I don't think there's anything that he or she could say at that point to, you know, get me fired or whatever, because they've committed a crime.
Okay.
And they no longer deserve to be a part of the company. But I mean, if they own the company, I don't know.
Well, if they own the company, he's stealing from himself.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't really. They're just.
That's a whole
ruining
other
their own
thing.
company.
Yeah.
At a certain point, though, the amount of money they spend, the company's going to recognize it themselves.
Oh, they
'Cause
are.
they have people that-
You want to just
'cause they
kind of
have-
sit back and let it happen, let karma just unfold?
Yeah, but well, the first question you said, if they ask us for the money, not the company.
Well, because you're the guy in accounts payable.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That's your job. That's why. You're the guy who makes out the checks.
Oh, then yeah, I would do it. Then I wouldn't say anything for 150, because that's honestly nothing for a major company. They
Well,
spend
see, now
thousands
you've just
a week.
changed your whole thing, Noah. I thought you were so moral.
I mean, if it gets to 15,000 or 150,000, technically you would be the one that gets in trouble too. You'd get in trouble with them because you're allowing all these expenses to go through, and it's kind of your job to. It is your job to make sure what the company pays for and what the company doesn't.
Right, but if you have the receipts, that really is all you're responsible for. You're not really responsible to go research those receipts.
Yeah. I know, by that point, the company would recognize and they would get in trouble and probably fired or in jail, whichever one.
So, okay. So now you don't care so much if it's a big company. But what would it make a difference to you forget a big company or a big corporation? Like, nobody cares if Apple gets ripped off $150, right? Oh, I'm on Mac. They're probably recording me saying that. But what happens if it's a small business owner? Do you feel differently about it then?
No, because a lot of small businesses do their own stuff, they'll the people that own businesses usually go over stuff monthly, and they would be like, we know no one had a business meeting this week or whatever. Why was this charged? And that would probably easily got found, and that would deal with itself.
You have made a total 100 about face there. You cared so much, and now you don't care.
At first, I thought you meant like taking other people's money, not the business's money. I didn't know we were the accounts payable people.
So you don't care when it's a business, an anonymous business?
No, because eventually I figured they would get caught themselves.
Interesting. Wow. Keon, are you drinking applesauce?
Kind of. I was really using my spoon, but
No, you weren't.
um,
You were drinking applesauce right from the jar. And because of that, now you're going to weigh in. Because I want you to know that that's a boy thing. That's something my son does. And I've never seen a girl drink applesauce from a jar.
it's good. But but me personally,
Yeah.
I'll say I wouldn't do it because that $150 can go a long way. Like they can take that out of my check or me and his check. But if you get caught on $150, I believe if you go over $50, I think it is, you can go to jail for it. And I'm not risking my life.
Well, you're not going to jail for it because it's a receipt.
But I approved it because I'm the person that deals the money.
So you're afraid you'll get in trouble. So you're not gonna give him the money.
No, it's not benefiting me pretty much. So I wouldn't want to risk it.
But aren't you risking your job by arguing with your supervisor?
I can easily find another one.
So really what we've come across here is that there's no right answer to this, because some of you are gonna say it's only $150. Some of you say, well, it depends who we're stealing from. Some of you, it matters the money. See how this is all really very fluid, how just changing it might change your answer to what you're gonna do a little bit. That's gonna kind of where we're leading into our discussion question for this week, which is going to be about our poor man. Some of you have looked at that. Have all of you looked at the discussion question for this week yet? Yeah, Diego, I just read yours actually this morning. So here we have a poor man, and he just, I'm waving, my daughter is homeschooling here. She's Digital Academy. So here we have a poor man, and his wife is dying, and he, can't afford the medicine that he needs for his wife. He's asked the church, he's asked, Medicaid, whatever. Nobody's got the money to help him for these drugs. So he breaks into the pharmacy and he steals the drug that his wife needs to save her. Did he do the wrong thing?
No, he got to do what he got to do.
What's going to happen to our poor old man?
Gonna go to jail if he gets caught.
He can bail out.
How's he gonna bail out? He doesn't have any money.
Yeah, I mean, if he's so poor, how's he going to get bail?
Yeah, you're right, but I feel like he had to do what he had to do, like Keon said. But at the end of the day, on the bright side, his wife gonna be living and feeling better.
Yeah, I agree with him too. Cause like, I don't know, love, like if you love somebody that much, cause they married. Yeah, think about that. They married, they old, so you're pretty sure they've been together for a long time. You don't want to see the person that you love suffer and die. I'd rather if that was me in that situation, I'd rather go to jail or risk going to jail than letting her just die like that.
Oh, Keon, that's so sweet and so romantic and so silly. Are you really going to break into that pharmacy? What are you going to do, Nate? Have you ever loved anybody that much?
No.
No. Do you love your dog that much? Do you have a dog you might love that much?
Yeah, but no. He's annoying sometimes. I wouldn't do that. But I'm not sure. Like, how old are they?
Oh, that's a good question. How old do you want them to be?
Well, that's I don't know. It just depends. Just because if they're getting to a certain age where they may only have a couple years or a couple months left, then he has to think is it worth actually going out of my way and stealing this when we only have a little bit of time left?
So if they're already 80, this is just a terribly bad idea on his part anyway.
Maybe pushing it, yeah.
But if he's a young 29 like myself, then it might be a better idea.
Could be a different story, yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for not rolling your eyes when I said I was 29. You'll be getting extra points for that today.
Wait, you're not 27?
Nate is now officially my favorite student in the class. I want everyone to know that.
I say 25.
Yana, how do you feel about this?
I think it would be like still a crime when he do it. So like I wouldn't do it because like he risks it like to get caught and go to jail or like to pay like even a bigger amount of money. So and if you would go to jail, he could like even like help his wife less. So like I think it's like a crime. So I wouldn't like risk that and will like still try to find like the money anywhere else. But on the other hand, I still think it's like stupid that not everyone can have like the minimum amount of health care.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Spoken like somebody from Europe.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it, but because I think there should be like some other way which can help them. Because like I agree that like if you want to have like some really fancy health care that you have to pay for it. But if she's just like, I don't know, it's just like ill have, I don't know.
Let's say she's got cancer. Let's say these are drugs for cancer. Y'all have any idea how much cancer drugs can cost per month? Thousands. My dad was on one cancer drug alone that was over $6,000 a month. It's a lot of money. So when he broke in and he steals from the pharmacy, it's not like he grabbed a bottle of Motrin, you know, for $6. Maybe we're talking about drugs that were worth thousands of dollars. Dylan. What, did he do something wrong?
Did I? Oh, no.
No?
I think you could try to find like another way to pay for it, but I don't think you should resort to breaking in somewhere and stealing it, you know.
Should we lock him up?
Yeah, he committed a crime.
Noah, you were talkative when it came to the $150. I want to hear about you talking about this old man stealing drugs. He's not there. He's taking a walk in the woods. I think I see him taking a walk in the woods. Forget it.
Uh-oh.
No, I can hear you. I just had to come up and unmute my phone. Can you repeat the full question?
Yeah, so what about this guy? Should we lock him up for stealing the drugs for his wife?
I mean, depends on what he steals. If it's thousands of dollars, well, I guess no matter what, if you steal under 1,000, you don't go to jail for it. You just pay a fine for it now, or they just let you go. During COVID, I know they were doing that.
He can't afford to pay the fine. If he could have afforded to pay the fine, he would have afforded the drugs.
I mean, I think if he gets caught, yeah, but if he doesn't, then no.
Does it change anything if he steals it from a big pharmacy like Walgreens or CVS as opposed to a little independently owned pharmacy? Does that change anything for you, BJ?
No, not really. I mean, I feel like if it's big, like if it's like Walgreens or something like that or whatever, like more likely he gonna get caught though.
Probably.
But nothing changes for me.
You think
they get stolen from all the time though, so it's probably just another theft for them.
Yeah, although it really is hard to steal the stuff that's locked up behind the pharmacy counter. They get stolen from with the over-the-counter stuff. But it's really hard to get the stuff behind the pharmacy counter. But should he get locked up, BJ?
Yes, ma'am, I think so. Because like you're breaking in somebody's business and like you're basically taking their money from the other.
But it's for such a good reason, guys. It's because he loves his wife. BJ, have you ever loved anybody that much? Your dog?
I mean, yeah, but still, I mean, yeah, but I'm not gonna. Nah, I wouldn't do that though.
You wouldn't even break in and steal for your dog, who you love more than anything?
No, because I know he wouldn't do the same for me at the end of the day.
Wow. Obviously, y'all don't love your dog the way I love mine. Ayla, you look so quiet down there, and you're in my lower corner, and I just can't ignore you.
You said Ayla?
Yeah.
I don't think he should steal, or like I think he should go to jail. Like how my dad always says, like there's always a way. Like if you need something, if you want something, like there's always jobs, there's always stuff. Like yeah, it's gonna suck because you're gonna have to work multiple jobs. But I feel like it's rather that than go to jail, because let's say this person does get better and you do find a way, like, or let's say the person is dying and you don't have pills for like the person, like what, you're gonna risk it all, you're gonna go to jail for life, or you're gonna go to jail for like I don't know how many years, and you're not even gonna see that person even if you love that person. I don't know. I just feel like it's stupid to steal something while there's other ways to get it.
All right, but let's say he's 80. How many jobs can he work at 80?
It's like going back to what Nate says, like 80, like yeah, it sucks that your significant other is dying, but there's a certain point that like everybody dies. So like just enjoy the time you have with that person.
So at a certain point, it's really not worth it anyway, right? At a certain point, it's not worth doing whatever needs to be done to save a life. I mean, is a life less valuable at 80 than it is at 50?
No, but it's like you said, like, what was the 80%? Like, if you look at it, someone that's 80 years old, I don't really see them stealing because like they're very slow, or like they're not gonna like get out really quickly, so they're gonna get caught. So either way, it's just a sticky situation for the person.
Who thinks it would make more sense for him to do this the younger he and his wife are, as opposed to being elderly?
Stealing, I'll say it's very wise. Well, not wise, but I agree with him stealing it, because ain't gonna lie, like me personally, I don't think medical supplies should even be like, you should even pay for it really. Like I think like we should, if we do pay, it should be out of like taxes and things, because like something that save your life shouldn't be like you gotta pay for it.
Spoken like a Bernie Sanders voter.
I don't do politics.
What's that, honey?
Nah.
I was just, I'm teasing with you, right? But that's kind of their whole point. Who's gonna say?
What about insurance? Like they don't have insurance, nothing like that.
Well, insurance doesn't pay for everything.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Wait till you all get insurance and get jobs, and you find out that insurance only pays for a portion or what they deem as necessary. Or sometimes, and this is even true with Medicare, like when a person gets to a certain age, they won't pay for certain things because they deem after a certain age it's not feasible to put the money in. Like a colonoscopy. You don't get a colonoscopy after you're 75. Medicare won't pay for it. So if you get colon cancer, you get colon cancer. You ride it out. You're shaking your head. You did not know that, did you? My dad couldn't get a bone marrow transplant after 70 because he was 71 and Medicare cut it off at 70. Insurance doesn't pay for everything. Who wants this guy to go to jail?
I think that he should be prosecuted because the law is the law. But I really feel like if this guy was prosecuted and went to trial for this, that he wouldn't get as much of a punishment as someone who just broke into the pharmacy, like a random person for no reason, I mean, just to steal drugs or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I said in my discussion board, that, he should be prosecuted because he most likely knew the consequences going into that pharmacy, breaking into it. He knew what would happen. And, I mean, he can't expect not to get in trouble for that. But I don't think that he would get a long sentence or anything like that.
I think it's interesting that some of you all are more anxious to put this guy in jail than you are about the supervisor stealing from the company. That seems to be more troubling to you, that this guy would break into a pharmacy than the guy who would sort of quietly embezzle.
Well, I mean, he trespassed, broke and entered into a building, and then also stole prescription drugs that are worth a lot more money than $150. So the other situation was kind of like a petty theft in my mind, and could be handled, within the company and through that. So
It was for such a good reason, though, right? And the other guy was just going on a date.
Yeah, can I kind of disagree with her?
Yeah, go ahead. I've got all day. We could stay here till noon if we want to.
So
Okay, we're not going to, but
I realized that that when people like rob for a reason, they ended up getting more years and things. I think they call it the planned robbery, like
yeah, like
yeah,
premeditation.
So I did notice that, like, if you have like a good purpose, they'll give you more years. But if you just do it, they won't give you that much years. That's why I did notice. Like when I forgot who it was, it was like a kid that shut off the school one year. It was like a court case about it. And they just put him, they ain't really give him no years. They just said that he was mentally insane.
Oh, well, yeah. But that's kind of a different thing. That when you're insane or you're not fit to stand trial, that's a whole other thing. But we're going to assume that this guy is in his right mind.
Well, I'll say for him.
Claim insanity.
I'll say for him. All you gotta say is just I was high off some pills and wasn't in my right mind and just walked outside this pharmacy and stole something.
Oh, I don't think that's going to work. But wait till we get to chapter 4 and I'll tell you why that's not going to work.
But yeah, I'll say I don't know, like the dude that stole the money and then the dude that stole it from here, they both doing the same thing. So really I think the dude that still stole the money should get more years because that's money and this is product. So you do more things with money than you can do with medicine, really.
Okay. Does anybody else want to weigh in before I start telling you a little bit about jurisdiction and what we're going to do with these cases?
I still think they both should go to jail. They're both stealing. They're both not doing the right thing. Yeah, he's helping somebody and the other person is just stealing from the company, but they're both stealing. They're both doing something that they know that they shouldn't be allowed to do. So I don't really think they should get less sentence for one or the other. It's both stealing.
Ooh, Ayla, you're like a prosecutor. You're a hard ass. Anybody else want to weigh in? Or is it still too early for most of you? Well, there's no right answer. We're going to revisit this poor man again and complicate his scenario a little bit. But I want you to talk about him on the discussion board this weekend. And then next week, we're going to kind of revisit him and see what's going on with him. We'll make things a little more complicated, make his case a little more complicated. I deliberately didn't put a lot of details about him on purpose because I want there to be questions about his age and about his condition and his race and his mental capacity and where he lives and all of that. So I want you to kind of think about when you're writing on the discussion board, think about some of those variables that could be coming up and whether some of that may make a difference to you. How old his wife is, what kind of disease we're talking about, is it something curable? Is it something terminal? All of those things should kind of weigh in for you and be, give you some ifs and ands and ors and buts. So I want you to kind of think about that when you answer on that discussion question. And ultimately, there's no right answer. It's just what you feel is ultimately right. Some of you have a very strong sense of the law is the law and we're going to follow the law. And some of you have a strong sense of, well, but you got to do what you got to do for somebody you love and someone you care about. And I'm not telling you if you're right or wrong. I just want to kind of hear from you guys on the discussion board. And I try to get you to talk about it today. And I know some of you are really good in the morning, and some of you just really are looking forward to me saying we're done for today and going back to bed. I know that. But we're not quite done yet, because I want to tell you a little bit about jurisdiction, okay? Before we get started. So, starting with Article 3 of the Constitution, that is the article that we said set up the federal court system, and specifically that set up the Supreme Court. And the lower courts in the court system, like the district courts of appeal and the local federal courts, those are set up by Congress. Make sure you understand that. The different courts have what's known as jurisdiction. And jurisdiction is the authority of a court to hear a case. The authority of a court to hear a case. So there's many different kinds of jurisdiction, and I have some of those written on the board behind me. You have appellate, original, personal, subject matter, and general. Can you all see that? Or do I need to move it closer? You can't just decide when you want to go to court that you just go to any random court and they'll listen to you. You have to know whether you go to a state court, and you have to know whether you go to a federal court, and then you have to know which state court or federal court in those systems that you go to. And all those things are going to matter depending on who you are, who the defendant is, what the court case is about. Okay? So when do you think that you would go to a state court instead of a federal court?
Would that just be like a speeding ticket?
Yeah, okay, that would be an example of a state court, but what specifically makes that a state issue?
Because it's not like a federal offense. It's just like a state rule.
Okay, so state matters, things that deal with state law or state matters, are going to go to state court. When would it go to federal court then? If it's dealing with what?
Like a federal offense.
Right, a federal crime, or
Isn't if there's like a defendant or the state court can't decide, or if it needs to.
Well, you
I don't know what that term is, but.
Yeah, there are times it can go from the state system into the federal. You're absolutely right, but it has to meet a specific criteria to do that. And what is that criteria? That's the thing I'm getting at right now.
Isn't it when you cross state borders, when you go into different states?
Not always, no. Not always. Very often that's still going to be state. It can be federal, but very often that's going to be state. No, it's something we talked about the other day.
A breach of the Constitution?
Yes, an issue dealing with constitutional law. If it deals with the federal Constitution, then it's going to jump from the state system into the federal system. Now, what you were talking about, where the plaintiff and the defendant might be from different states, who was just mentioning that? Was that you, Nate? So that's what we're going to talk about more when we deal with personal jurisdiction. And so a court has to have jurisdiction over the defendant. And what that means is when the plaintiff and the defendant are in different states, but if it's not a matter of federal law, you still have to go to a state court. The issue then becomes, which state court do you choose? And it has to be the state court that has jurisdiction over the defendant. So think about it this way. If I'm living here in Florida and you're in Georgia, and you and I get into a car accident. I can't sue you here in Florida because the Florida courts don't have jurisdiction over you. You're a Georgia resident. I'm going to need to go to the Georgia court to sue you. Does that make sense? Although, I don't know. Are you a resident of Georgia? That was just pretend. But you get the idea. I can't sue you here in Florida because Florida has no jurisdiction over you if you're not a Florida resident. I'm a Florida resident, but it's got to be where the defendant, this court that has jurisdiction over the defendant. So sometimes you hear people say, oh, you can't sue out of state. Yeah, you can sue out of state, but it is harder and more expensive and more difficult sometimes to sue out of state because it's not going to be the state that you live in. It's the state that the defendant lives in. Does that make sense? Jeremiah gives me a thumbs up. So that's what's known as personal jurisdiction. You might as well write that down now and get that in your notes because it's going to be tough.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So if I rob a bank in Texas and make it all the way back to Florida, that means they have to come all the way to Florida to find me?
No, that's going to be federal court because robbing a bank is a federal crime. And why is robbing a bank a federal crime?
Because the federal order on the bank.
Because remember when we looked at the other day, Article 1, Section 8, we looked at all those specific rules, things that the federal government can look at. Interstate commerce and regulating banking and money are explicit things that Congress and the federal government has control over. So that would be federal, for sure. Just like if I kidnap you, Keon, and I drag you to another state, is that going to be federal or is that going to be state?
Federal, because you drive
Right,
to
that's going to be federal. Why?
because you had to go on the interstate to go to another state.
That's it. If we're worried about the meat that moves through interstate commerce and we're worried about people driving on interstate commerce, then certainly if I use interstate commerce to commit a crime, that's going to be federal. Kidnapping is going to be federal. See how this works? These are just some examples of it. We're going to go over a whole lot more of these examples next week. Questions on any of this so far?
Why is it if you like get a speeding ticket, you have to go to court?
You don't have to go to
like
court.
For some, well, whenever I got one on 319, they made me go to court. Like going to Tallahassee, they like, I mean, and it wasn't that bad, but they said that you have to go to court. But if you're like 25 or older, as soon as you get to court, you can pay it when you get there. If you're younger than that, you have to go talk to the judge, no matter what this violation is. If it's any traffic violation, then you have to go to the.
Probably because they can't take
That happened here in Leon County?
No, it was in Grady County. I went to the Grady County courthouse.
Oh, I have no idea. That must be their rule. That they must have a specific rule about that there. I don't know because I've never heard that before.
Well, could it be because all the accidents and stuff like that have happened on that road? I don't know if you've heard about those, but.
Well, I know 319. I mean, I know 319 is a speed trap, and there's only a small section of it that's in Grady County. So you just got caught right there, huh? See, I did not know that actually, that was a rule because, you know, my son's gotten a ticket here in Leon County and he didn't have to go to court. He would just paid it and that was the end of it. So that must be a specific rule that Grady County has.
I don't know. I didn't think that when you got a speeding ticket, I thought you can just pay online, but I can never pay online, but you had to go to court. And I mean, those people in there and they said, right. And it was just weird. I didn't know if that was like that for everything, but. No,
that must be a specific rule that Grady County has. I'd never even heard of that before. I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's typically not normal. I mean, usually it has to be some kind of a really grievous traffic violation for you to have to go to court. That's kind of unusual, actually.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's what I thought too. But I mean, even if it was like a stop sign violation.
Oh, no, that must be specifically Grady County. That must be like a county ordinance or something. Because I've never heard of that. That must be something they specifically do in that county to try to cut down on traffic issues and so forth. But that isn't
Yes, ma'am.
normal. That isn't normal.
Okay.
Because I've had several speeding tickets in the state of Georgia, and I've never had to do that. And my son's had them. He's not had to do that. Now, I know sometimes in Georgia, they've got those super speeder tickets. Was
Yes,
it one of those?
No, ma'am. It was only, mine was only 15.
Oh, no, then that's just a Grady County thing. That must be just a local ordinance. That's really unusual. The more you know, huh? So what did we learn today? Don't speed in Grady County.
Yeah, when I got a super speeder in like Hall County, which is up like in Atlanta, I had to go to court, but like I could have chosen not to and just paid the fine.
Yeah. Usually it is that choice. Usually you can do either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to call, and they're like, yeah, you have to show up to court.
Oh yeah, no, I've never heard of that before. Usually you've got the option of just dealing with it online and not contesting it. Yeah, that's unusual. That must be a Grady County thing.
Well, I think there's so many people that got into car accidents and stuff like that from speeding in Grady County on 319 coming into Thomasville. I think that might be why, but
maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, it's such a big open stretch of road.
I know it.
There's like it's a hard road to go the speed limit on because there's like nothing there. So I totally get it. I do. All right, I need to take attendance real quick, so hang on.